but that doesn't mean that's all we'll go to. But I've got notes for 3 different teachings. These to me are incredibly important teachings. One of them I never knew. This is brand new. So we're in Genesis 18, Parashat 18. I'm just going to read passages. Now the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre while he was, you know where that is? You know where he is? Oaks of Mamre? Anybody?
Oh, maybe Lebanon?
No. He's in Hebron, down south. It's about 40 miles south of Jerusalem. That's where he spent most of his life. Said that last week. The Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre while he was sitting at the tent door in the heat of the day. And when he lifted up his eyes and looked, behold, 3 men were standing opposite him. And when he saw, by the way, the name of the Torah portion is Va'yera, and he appeared. From the first set of words, now the Lord appeared to him. And now appeared the Lord to him. And then it says he lifted up his eyes. And then it says he looked. And then it says behold. So there's a whole lot of look words here. A whole lot of sight, seeing, look words. 3 men were standing opposite him. And when he saw them, there's another one. He ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the earth and said, my Lord, if now I have found favor in your sight, there's another one, please do not pass by your servant. Please let a little water be brought and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will bring a piece of bread that you may refresh yourselves. Really not what it says. It says, I will take a bit of bread and sustain your heart. That's what it says. And after that you may go on, since you have visited your servant. And they said, so do as you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent and said, quickly prepare 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, make bread cakes. Abraham also ran to the herd and took a tender and choice calf and gave it to the servant, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf, that's milk and meat, which he had prepared, and placed it before them, before God, in the form of 3 angels. And he was standing by them under the tree as they ate. Do you know when this, like what Abraham had just done? Like in the storyline here, do you know what Abraham had just done before these angels showed up?
I don't remember. He
Say
circumcised
something.
himself.
Say something.
During the time frame, is that what you're
Like
asking?
right before the
Yeah.
angels showed up.
He circumcised.
He circumcised himself. All right. This is the 3rd day after his circumcision. Look at all the running he's doing.
Lovely.
Oh, that's crazy.
And
He'll
he's
be hurt. You know?
right, and he's 100 years old.
He doesn't even have time to heal.
Well, the rabbis say that the 3 angels that came were Raphael, Michael, and Gabriel. Raphael means healing of God, or God heals, and that angel was sent to heal Abraham from circumcision. Gabriel Gaver means hero, mighty man, like warrior of God, Gabriel. But he gives messages. That's what he does. He gives messages. And then Michael showed up because he was the one who was going to go wipe out Sodom. He's the warrior. He's the angel over Israel. It says it in Daniel. By the way, there are lines on your notes for you to take notes.
Okay.
You're welcome. All right, so he's doing a lot of running. It's 3rd day of his circumcision. Verse 9. Where is Sarah, your wife? And he said, look, behold, there's another seen word, in the tent. And he said, I will surely return to you at this time next year. And behold, there it is again, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door because she was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah, I made a mistake, it's Sarah, not Sarai. Sarah were old, advanced in age. Sarah was past childbearing. And Sarah laughed to herself, saying, after I become old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I indeed bear when I'm so old? Is anything too difficult for the Lord? At the appointed time, at the Moed, come sit here. At the Moed, I will return to you. At this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son. When is he going to return?
Next year, same time.
When? What's it called?
Paso.
Wow. I tried. Verse 14, is there anything too difficult for the Lord? At the Moed, the appointment, I will return to you at this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son. When is he going to return?
Pesach next
It
year.
doesn't say Pesach. What does it say?
This time.
What else does it say?
Next year.
What else does it say?
That'll be a son.
Oh my gosh. I'm talking about the time frame.
Oh,
Appointed time.
All right, say it loud. Say it loud.
Appointed
At the
time.
Moed.
Moed.
At the Moed. That's a festival. So we don't know it's Passover yet, but it turns out to be Passover. But it is at Passover that this happens. Third day of his circumcision. All right, that's good enough. That's good enough. All right, let's go to the notes. And Genesis 18. By the way, there's a place to write on the notes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
How about that?
Where do we find out that it's Pesach?
Oh, we'll get to that, my little friend.
Fine.
It's got clues.
Yes, context clues. Genesis 18, 1 through 8. This hit me years ago, and I've never forgotten it. It's one of my favorite things in the whole Bible. The fact that Abraham, at the age of 100, is running around, and everything about what he's going to prepare for God is done, to serve God, is done fast. Go, go, go. And look at all these words that are used here in verse 2. And when he lifted up his eyes and looked, behold, 3 men were standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them. Well, why? Why would he do that? So that's what the rabbis ask when they read this. He ran. Why did he run? Why is he running? Especially the third day after your circumcision. And then in verse 2 also, and bowed himself to the earth. It's verse 6, down to verse 6. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. Why didn't he just, take his time, be chill? They're there for a siesta. They're there to relax. Mikasa, sukasa, just take it easy. And just take his time. And say, hey, let's make some food for these guys. Why does he hurry to Sarah? Why does he run to bow down to them? This is what the rabbis ask.
A sense of urgency for some reason.
For some reason. And then he tells her, quickly, prepare 3 measures of fine flour. Now there's I don't know if you remember the teaching I gave, I think it was 4 years ago, that there's a parable that Yeshua tells, and he says the kingdom of heaven is like 3 measures of leaven, 3 measures of grain. And God lets the 3 measures of grain leaven, and then he separates out the bad. Do you recognize that? Like 3, it probably says 3 pecks in your translation. 3 measures of grain. This is what it's quoting. It's Sarah is a picture of the kingdom, and she's preparing 3 measures. By the way, that's a lot of food. That's a lot of grain. For 3 guys, that's enough for 10 or 15. But she takes 3 measures of grain, and she is the kingdom, and she hides in it things that are revealed later. That's in the parable that Yeshua tells. There's things hidden in it that are revealed later. Well, that's the kingdom. She is the kingdom. And he's quoting this. He tells her, go, quick, prepare 3 measures of grain. And she's an old lady, and he's an old man. And they prepare and create the kingdom. If you want to look that up, that'd be fine. We could read it. All right. So he says, hurry, quickly prepare 3 measures. And then in verse 7, Abraham also ran to the herd.
Yeah.
Why? Why doesn't he just take his time and
He's in a
relax?
hurry.
and took a tender and choice calf and gave it to the servant, and then he tells the servant, and the servant hurries to prepare it. So everything here is done very, very fast. And what is he doing? He's serving God. Literally serving God food, right?
Yeah.
So, because he's serving, but did you find that reference?
Yeah, it says Matthew 13:33 and Luke 13:20 and 21.
Okay. So, everything that's done to serve God is supposed to be done fast. That's exactly the opposite of what everybody says. Everybody says,
Take your time.
take your
It's a
time,
process.
right? Just, let God, just relax, serve him slow and patiently, and just take your time. Absolutely not that way in Judaism. Here's why. I like to make things very practical. I don't like playing around with generalities. Your tzitzit are completely unkosher. At least you're wearing tzitzit.
Yeah.
But they're wrong. The tzitzit you wear, wrong. Completely wrong. I've seen you wear tzitzit once in a while, the blue ones,
Yeah,
they're wrong.
they're white and blue.
Yeah, completely wrong. At least you're doing something. But my point is, Judaism is hard. To do it right, I mean, these are kosher tzitzit. The blue ones, they're made with actual tefillin that they just started making, I don't know, 10 years ago at the most.
Yeah, mine are a different color blue.
Yeah, and they have to be on a garment. They can't be tied to your loop strings, which we used to do. I used to love to do that. I wish I could do it now. And my point is, Judaism is hard. If you do it right, it is not easy. It's hard, and it's super inconvenient. Everything about it is inconvenient. It goes a different time frame from everybody else, you know this, but the details of it are not easy to do, and they're incredibly inconvenient to do consistently. You have to jump in to do it. You can't. I was watching this show with who plays Thor? You know who plays Thor in the
The
movies?
actors?
Yeah, the actor that plays Thor.
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hemsworth. He's got a show on, I can't remember what I'm watching it on, called not Unbreakable, not Invincible. I can't remember what it's called, but something like that. And he challenges his body to do all these different things. Like last night, the one we watched, he swam in 30-degree water in Norway, but he had to work up to it, and it's just the most horrendous, horrible thing. And he keeps doing these horribly difficult things to his body that have benefits. Judaism is the same way. You can't like ease into it. You have to get in and do it. And once you do it, then you can start, figuring it out, and you start playing with it and working with it and listening to it and all that. But you got to just jump in and do it. Well, that's what he's doing here. Ran, hurried, quickly prepare, also ran, hurried to prepare. When you're serving God, you cannot take your time. Now, you may not like that, but that's the way Judaism works. If you ever listen to Rabbi Alon Anava, you know that. He gets up at 5 o'clock every morning, and he starts praying. He goes to the mikveh, he starts praying. 5 o'clock every morning, rain or shine. Walks barefoot down to the mikveh on cold cobblestones in Tzfat, in northern Israel. And it's just one example, but Jews who really want to show their love for God, they don't play around. It's like get in and do it, and quit playing around. Quit feeling around with your toes. Get in. So
is it if you're going to jump into it, you're going to jump into, let's say, tzitzit, and you start worrying about, but eventually you'll start getting it right, even though you jump into it wrong, let's say.
well, yeah, if you jumped into it wrong, but the thing is to jump into it right.
Okay.
I mean, like somebody wants to do it and they want to jump in, okay, fine, they jump in, they do it wrong. Nothing wrong with that. But once they find out what's right, then they got to jump into that.
Okay.
But most people don't do that. Most people well, this is what I came up with and this is what I like, and that's all right. It's not all right.
It's what it means to me.
What it means to me. Exactly right. That's exactly right. That ain't it. That's not how Judaism works, unfortunately. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So this is one of my favorite concepts about Abraham. And remember, we saw Abraham didn't walk with God. How did he walk?
Before him.
Before God. Okay, this is how he did it. He didn't play around. Psalm 119:32. I shall run the way, not walk, but lelechet, not walk. I shall run the way of your mitzvot. In other words, I'm going to go fast with it because you enlarge my heart. Well, what does that mean? What do you think that means? Enlarge your heart. Enlarge my heart. What do you think that means? Like when you read that, what do you think?
You have more love.
Have more love? Come on, guys. What do you think?
Well, more understanding to me.
More understanding?
More to give.
More to give? What do you think that means? Enlarge your heart.
Like righteousness.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All that. To me, it's all that. But it's like, it gives me a bigger vessel. In Judaism, when we do Judaism, the reason we do Judaism is to make us a vessel to contain God, right? Va'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham. Create, make for me a sanctuary that I may dwell in you. Okay, you create a vessel. Make for me a sanctuary. Me, my body, my mind, my heart. Make for me a sanctuary that I can dwell in there. Well, if you have a real small vessel, I mean, God can put a little bit of him in there, but that's it. And so you want a bigger vessel. So the more you do Judaism, you elevate your eating, you elevate your clothing, you elevate your relationships, you elevate your when you go, where you go, how you go, you elevate your conversations, you elevate all the stuff about your life. Your vessel gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, so you can handle more and hold more of God, whatever that means. I mean, I think you guys know what that means.
Which fits the parables that he taught about, if you've been given a little bit and you're faithful, be given more.
Then you get more.
So just like when I was telling you that I was seeing the same Parsha from 19, I
From
understand.
2019.
Yeah, but I understand it more now. So now I've opened up that vessel.
Right, it's gotten bigger, you can
On
understand
this
more.
cycle,
Yeah.
I've opened it up more, so now I can receive
And that's
greater.
exactly, and that's how it's supposed to work. Every year that we go through the Torah portion, I mean, like I've got so much bigger of a vessel from Va'yera than last year, than the last year, than the last year, than the last year. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. Can you give me some water, please?
I have to go downstairs.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Anybody else?
Please.
Yeah.
so look at this. This is what it says in Mishneh Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot is read every Shabbat. It's the first. It's in the Mishnah, and it's read every Shabbat. And it gets bigger and more complicated as you go through it. It starts out super small and simple, the statements, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger and more complicated. It says this: be as meticulous in performing a minor mitzvah as you are with a major one. Where did Yeshua say that?
He did say that. He said like,
How do you say it?
He is faithful in the small things and be given much.
No, that's sort of the same concept. But he literally said about the mitzvah. Like, where did he say, be diligent about the smallest mitzvah? The smallest mitzvah. You don't recognize it?
I don't remember.
Matthew 5, 17 through 19. It's the one that everybody misquotes and says, I didn't come to do away with the Torah.
Yeah.
It says that the one who does and teaches the smallest mitzvah will be greatest in the kingdom. But the one who does away with and doesn't teach the mitzvah, the smallest mitzvah, will be least in the kingdom. That's basically the same concept here. But here, it makes it more understandable, I think. Be as meticulous in performing a minor mitzvah as you are with a major one. Why? Because you don't know what kind of reward you're going to get for various mitzvot. We don't know how we're going to be repaid for doing a mitzvah. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you might find out a couple things once in a while, but for the most part, we are completely blind
Thank you.
about how God's going to repay us for doing the mitzvah.
It might not even be in this life.
That's exactly right. It's really hard to tell. And let me say more about that. Here's one thing I hate about Hellenistic Christianity. That in Hellenistic Christianity, they proclaim, if you do this, here's your reward.
Yeah.
That's absolute witchcraft. It's nonsense. It's either stupid nonsense or it's witchcraft. In other words, you do something to receive an effect, a predictable effect. Well, when you're doing spiritual things to produce a predictable effect, that's witchcraft. There's no such thing with God. You cannot produce a predictable effect with God, with spiritual things, with Judaism.
Because he's not predictable.
Yes, unless he specifically says, here's the connection to that mitzvah. And that does happen with rabbis. Like a rabbi will say, you didn't do this, and that's why this is happening. Or you did this, and that's why it's happening. It happens once in a great while. But for the most part, there is no connection, predictable connection between what we do and what it produces. But in Christianity, in normative Christianity, that's a big, big, big doctrine. If you do this, it will produce this.
Especially in the name it and claim it movement.
Yeah. But it's just not true. I'm sorry, but it's not. It just isn't. Because we don't know what reward we're going to get for various mitzvot. Run after the most minor mitzvah as you would after the most important, and flee from transgression, because doing one mitzvah draws you into doing another mitzvah, and doing one transgression draws you into doing another transgression. My God, that is so true, isn't it? And because the reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah, and the punishment for a transgression is a transgression. So, like what people who are in normative Christianity say is that the reward for the mitzvah is something good for your life. Money, relationship, whatever. Like something, you get something good in your life. That's not what Judaism teaches.
Materialistically.
Yes, it's a mitzvah. You get a mitzvah from a mitzvah. Like if you do tzitzit and you get some understanding from it, it's like, wow, I get to know God about that. That's it. That's the payoff.
Yeah.
That's the mitzvah. A mitzvah for mitzvah. God says, hey, you did that. Here's something of me. I'm going to tell you something about the kingdom. I'm going to tell you something about me. That's it. That's the payoff. You get to know God. And that's basically what it's saying here. It's sort of coded language, but that's basically what it's saying. We don't know what the payoff is going to be. So run. Go do it. Do it with all your heart. Because you don't know what the payoff is going to be. Except you know the payoff is going to be a mitzvah. The reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah. And the punishment for a transgression is a transgression. It's on a merry-go-round. You're either on one merry-go-round or the other. You're either adding good or you're adding bad. So I love this teaching. I just love it about running to serve God. And Eileen and I have been doing this for, like running after doing it, off and on for 36 years. And it's hard to find people who want to run to do it. People want to run for a little bit, but then it gets hard, and they don't want to run anymore. Hebrews 12 says, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance. And they always turn it into the race in the Olympics, as if that's what it's talking about. This is in the book of Hebrews, which is the book of Messianic Jews, written by a Messianic rabbi. You think he's going to reference a Greek race? So anybody know what he's referencing here? Racing, running, like jumping into the run. I want to run. I want to run. Does that sound familiar to anybody? I want to run. In the Bible, I mean.
Well, it says 2 Samuel 18 from your notes.
Did you read it?
No.
So do you know this story, 2 Samuel 18? I want to run.
Well,
No, I'm asking you, but don't, before you look
I
it
don't
up.
remember the passage.
Guys, look at me before you look it up. Do you know the story of somebody saying, I want to run?
No.
No? Okay, all right.
I don't
Well,
recall.
we'll look at it. 2 Samuel 18. And it says the word run, or running, or runner, 10 times. And I'm convinced that that's what the writer of Hebrews is referencing, because it's 10 times in the same passage. So what's happened is Absalom has risen up. He's taken over the kingdom. He's kicked his father David out. David, he is driven out of Jerusalem. Then there's a big battle. Joab comes up to Absalom, who's gotten caught in an oak tree by his hair, because he's got long hair, and he puts 3 darts through his heart and kills Absalom. Now, they have to tell David that his son is dead. Do you know what word is used to delivering this message? Besorah, gospel. And it says it over and over and over in this story. Somebody has to deliver the gospel, but the gospel is that the enemy has been killed. But it's David's own son. So it's really tricky. It's like, David killed the last guy that this happened with. There was, when Saul was killed, remember when Saul was killed and his kids? This Amalekite came running up to David and said, David, God's blessed you, your enemy is dead. And David killed the guy. So this is tricky. So in 2 Samuel, there's 2 guys that want to run.
2 Samuel
18. Let's see, let's go to verse
chapter
18. Verse 19. So they kill him. They kill Absalom. And then in verse 19, we'll start there. Ahimaaz, son of Zadok. Now Zadok is the high priest, and Ahimaaz is his son. He says, please let me run. I want to run. And bring the Besorah, that's what it says, the Besorah, the gospel, that the Lord has freed him from the hand of his enemies. But Joab said to him, you're not the man to carry Besorah this day, but you shall carry Besorah another day. However, you shall carry no Besorah today, because the king's son is dead. Then Joab said to the Cushite, now it could be an Ethiopian or it could be a Babylonian. I don't know which one, because they're both Cush. Go tell the king what you have seen. So the Cushite bowed to Joab and ran. So now he's running. Now Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, said once more to Joab, but whatever happens, please, come on, let me run after the Cushite. And Joab said, why would you run, my son, since you will have no reward for going? How about that? Mm-hmm. You don't know the reward. You don't know the reward what you're going to have for serving God. But whatever happens, he said, I'm going to run. I'm going to run. I don't care. So he said to him, okay, run. So Ahimaaz ran by way of the plain, and he passed the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchmen went up to the roof of the gate by the wall and raised their eyes and looked, and look, a man running by himself. And the watchman called and told the king, and the king said, if he's by himself, there is Besorah in his mouth. And he came nearer and nearer. Then the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called to the gatekeeper and said, look, another guy running by himself. And the king said, this one is also bringing Besorah. And the watchman said, I think the running of the first one is like the running of Ahimaaz ben Zadok. And the king said, this is a good man, and he comes with Basora. And think about that. Now look back at Hebrews. Since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders, and the sin that so easily entangles us, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. And what is he doing? He's delivering the Basora. Two guys competing to deliver the Basora. This is a good man and comes with good news. Ahimaaz called and said to the king, all is well. And he prostrated himself before the king with his face to the ground, and he said, blessed is Yehovah your God, who has delivered up the men who lifted up their hands against my lord the king. And the king said, is it well with the young man Avshalom? Uh-oh. And Ahimaaz answered, when Joab sent the king's servant and your servant, I saw this big commotion, but I don't know what happened to him. Then the king said, turn aside and stand here. So he turned aside, he stood still. And behold, the Cushite came. And the Cushite said, let my lord the king receive Basora, for the Lord has freed you this day from the hand of all those who rose up against you. Then the king said to the Cushite, is it well with the young man Avshalom? And the Cushite answered, let the enemies of my lord the king and everybody who rises up against you for evil be as that young man. And the king was deeply moved and went into his chamber over the gate and cried. So, I believe that's what the writer of Hebrews is quoting.
I think so too.
Running the race
And the-
set before you.
The cloud of witnesses.
And the cloud of witnesses, right? They're all watching, right?
Makes
And-
sense.
And you don't know what your reward is going to be for doing Judaism. You don't. I used to want to know. I used to think, okay, what am I going to get for this? God, I know you're going to bless me, but how?
When?
When? Yes, when? Yeah. I don't anymore. I really don't. I gave up too. To me now, it's more important that the thing talks to me and I get to know God. And the rest, I really don't care about. I really don't. And it's hard for me to say that, because I think it was hard fought for, and I got it.
Yeah.
I got that. To me, it's a gift. Psalm 19 says, in the heavens, he has made a tent for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his cheder, his chamber, his wedding chamber, and rejoices, the sun rejoices as a strong man to run a race. All right, so if you just stop there, it's like, what are you talking about? That's about the movement of the sun, the movement of the moon, and about the signs and of the seasons and the times, right? And the Moedim, it's about time. It's about the festivals and stuff like that. Except, right after that, he starts talking about the mitzvot. Well, the sun doesn't do mitzvot. So I think this is also about us. It's for us. The sun, God has made a tent for the sun, which is like a bridegroom coming out of his cheder and rejoices. Why would he run? Why would he be a strong man running a race after coming out of his wedding chamber? Right. It says he's in a chuppah. He's in the chuppah, in the wedding chamber. That's a room after you get married, right? Look at me, guys. Look at me. He's in the cheder, in the marriage room, for the 7 days making love with his wife, right? For 7 days. And he comes out of the cheder, and what does he go do? Runs a race. Why?
Where to do what?
Right.
He's weak after being 7 days.
Right.
Huh?
I mean, he's weak after being in that room for 7 days.
Like Abraham after circumcision. But why a race? What race? What race after you get married? What the heck is he talking about? I think it's real simple. You live your life. You come out of your wedding and you start living your life with your wife. And that's why it immediately brings up the mitzvah. That's the race. And he says, the Torah of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The pikud, the testimonies of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The chokim, the statutes of the Lord are right, Rejoicing the heart, the mitzvah of the Lord, is pure, enlightening the eyes. Why mention all this stuff about the mitzvah after you come out of your wedding chamber? Because that's life. You get married, you start living your life. I always saw that Psalm 19 just about the cycle of the sun and the cycle of the moon. Now I can see that it's also about us doing Judaism.
Yeah. Putting the Torah in your life.
And it's pretty simple. So, very important teaching, in my opinion, to learn how to run after God, not walk. Not walk. We have to walk after the Lord, walk before the Lord, but you have to run to do the mitzvot. Run to do them. Do them quick. By the way, Abraham heard he's supposed to circumcise himself. How long after that did he circumcise himself?
It wasn't right away?
I'm asking you.
I don't know. I don't remember.
God tells him, circumcise yourself and everybody in your house.
He must have
Ishmael's 13. So how long after that did he circumcise himself?
immediately.
Yeah, it was.
It was. It was
right away.
immediately.
Yeah.
He ran to do it. Oh, that's just insane.
And then all time.
No.
No.
In fact, an obsidian
Oh.
knife.
It's sharper than anything we have.
It's sharper. It can be sharper than an X-Acto blade. An X-Acto blade, like a scalpel, can be down to 2 microns in width, in its sharpness. A flint or obsidian. I can't remember what it's called when they knock the pieces off. Cherting, maybe. When they chert it properly, it can go down to 1 micron.
Wow.
Sharper than a scalpel, which I think is amazing. But
Yeah.
he ran to do it. That just freaks me out. Just freaks me out. Okay, so that's one more. I want you to see this one. Jeremiah 12. Joe Good, my hero, one of my 2 heroes in life,
A righteous Gentile.
a righteous Gentile, and then Rabbi Alon Anavaz, my other hero.
Who's the hero?
I'm sorry,
Who was the hero?
Joe Good.
Joe?
He's a righteous Gentile.
Oh, okay, Joe.
He taught me Judaism. Jeremiah 12, he gave me this verse while we were walking. I had just driven to his house. 16 hours, I think it was, 16-hour drive. And I was hungry and I was tired, but I really wanted to study. So instead of saying, here, have a nice meal, relax, what does he do? He says, let's go for a walk. And he starts training me. And I'm like, oh, God. And he tells me this verse, Jeremiah 12, verse 5. If you run with the footmen and they're tiring you out, how are you going to run with horses? If you run with footmen, just like Achimaaz and the Cushite, you run with another footman and they tire you out, how are you going to then compete or run with horses? Because that's what we're supposed to do, is run with horses. Who ran with horses and beat the horses?
Oh, Elisha. No.
Very good.
Who?
Elisha.
Oh,
Elijah. No, not Elisha. Eliyahu.
Yeah, okay.
Elijah. Eliyahu.
Elijah.
Very good.
oh yeah, he beat him.
He got up. He prayed in a fetal position 7 times for rain with his stupid servant Gehazi, horrible guy. And he gets up and he says, do you see anything? Nope. Do you see anything? Nope. Do you see anything? Nope. 7 times this. Do you see anything? Yeah, I see a cloud as big as a man's hand. Do not know what that means. I've never known what that means. But it bothers me that I don't know what it means. And I can't figure it out.
The tiny cloud.
I don't think that's what it means.
Being sarcastic.
Yeah, I know. And there's something there, I just can't figure it out. So he says, I see a cloud as a man's hand. And he says, the rain's coming. So he jumps up and he outruns the horses of the king, King Ahav. He outruns the horses. And the rain comes. That's when the rain comes. So he's the only guy that I know of in the scriptures that outran horses. So I think that's what Jeremiah is talking about. If you've run with, just people who were running with you, and you got tired, how are you going to compete with horses? If you fall down in a land of Shalom, how are you going to do in the thicket of the Jordan? The thicket of the Jordan is the attack of the Babylonians. That's what that is. So he's saying, bad times are coming. Listen to me carefully. Bad times are coming. Horrible times are coming.
Yes.
The day of the Lord is not here yet. We prayed and prayed and prayed for the coming of the Messiah, for the day of the Lord, and then when he starts getting close, everybody freaks out.
And they go, oh no.
Yeah, everybody
Stop
freaks out. Or they go, look in the Bible says this is going to happen. No, it doesn't. We're not there yet. We are not in the place where the scriptures say what's going to happen. That's in the day of the Lord. But it's getting closer and closer, and as it gets closer and closer, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And if you can't run in the time of Shalom, doing Judaism, how are you going to do it when it gets bad? So you better start doing it now. Because the time is going to come when you're not going to be able to do the mitzvot, I believe. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse and worse. There's nothing to go back to. I mean, it's like we're clicking forward, like with COVID, we clicked forward. We're never going back to before how it was before COVID, ever.
It's like a gear on a time.
Yes, and now we clicked forward again with the attack in Israel, with the murders in Israel. We're never going back to before that.
You think that's because they're going to outlaw doing mitzvot and that kind of a thing, like
Well, I know that in the birth pangs,
they had killed people for doing Judaism
Doing-
back then?
I know that in the birth pangs, it's going to be just like with the Maccabees and King Antiochus, where Judaism was literally outlawed. I mean, literally against the law.
And that's why we won't be able to do
And by the
mitzvot.
way, in all of Rome, from 400 BCE all the way through the entire Roman Empire, they had it on the books. If anybody worships any god other than the state god, the god sanctioned by the state, the poor were deported, and the rich were deported, and the poor were murdered, were killed. Period. So think about what it meant to become a believer in Yeshua and be invited into a Jewish world to do Judaism. That's a death sentence. Immediately.
That was in Rome when?
That was in the Roman Empire from 400 BCE. It's written by Cicero
400.
in 400 something BCE, all the way to 200 AD or CE, the Common Era.
So like 600 years.
Yes. And it was recorded again by another historian after Yeshua. So that whole time span of the Roman Empire, Judaism was literally outlawed, and that is going to happen again.
It's gonna happen.
It is. But we're not at that point. So we still have the opportunity for people to do Judaism, to jump in and run.
History is repeating itself.
Yes. Well, that's why all those things happen.
Well, they were a
As a-
picture of what's coming later.
They're a picture of the birth pangs, literally a picture of the birth pangs. All right, so we better get it together now. You better get it together now, because it's only going to get harder. What's the date today?
Third, I think. Fourth.
November 4, 2023.
Right.
Okay, well,
Gregorian.
I've been saying for 2 years, it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse. Now it's getting worse.
Well, it's just going to exponentially keep getting worse.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, because, it's not going to get better. It's not going
Nope,
to go back.
it's not. And people are still getting freaked out. It's just the way it is. Okay, now we're coming to the teaching. We hadn't started the teaching yet.
Right.
So that was the prelude.
Well, that was a pre-teaching teaching. That's just like one of my favorite little niblets. That's a Vorspeise, as my dad used to say.
That was
what
a-
you eat before. An appetizer? That was an appetizer.
It was a by the way.
All right, Genesis 18, verse 5. I never knew this, never saw it, never considered it. Wow, I mean, this is just amazing. Verse 5, Abraham tells the three, whatever they are, angels, God. He says, I will bring a piece of bread. It doesn't say that, it says, I will take a bit of bread and sustain your hearts. I have it for you here in Hebrew. You can look on your notes. It's the thing in the box.
Right.
It says, Ekcha pat lechem. Ekcha, I will take. But it's actually fat, a little bit. Lechem, bread. V'sa'adu, and refresh you. Libchem. Look at that word, the last word. Libchem.
Your hearts.
That's weird. Libchem, it's written wrong. It's way wrong. I mean, when I read that, I was like, what?
Why is it wrong?
You'll see. I'm gonna show you. Won't learn today. Why it's wrong. Libchem. It's weird. I've never seen that. I will take a bit of bread and sustain your hearts. So it says, please, let's see. I will take a piece of bread and sustain your heart. After that you may go on, since you have visited your servant. And they said, so do as you said. And bam, he jumps into action. Now, look at me. Don't look at what the rabbi said. I read this 1,000 times, just like you have, and just went right over it. It's like, okay, you get a piece of bread, and, make yourself feel better. Not what it's saying at all. And it's all based on that one word, libchem. Say libchem.
Libichem.
Libchem. When we say the Shema, the very first part was to say Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Va'ahavta.
Et Adonai.
Come on. Va'ahavta et Adonai. Say it.
Eloheinu. No, it's not that. It's
You don't know it?
I forgot.
Va'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. B'kol
Not Shechat.
love. Wow.
Livacha? No.
Wow. I thought you guys
No,
knew it
Never
by
Necha.
heart. Well, yeah, but we've done it every single week for
Cool.
years. I thought you knew it. All right.
Livacha?
If you look down toward the bottom, there's a line of Hebrew under the bet. There it is. Va'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol
Livacha.
levavcha.
Level.
Don't you say that every week?
Yeah,
Call level.
that's it. Livacha.
Robert, you recognize that? B'kol levavcha, v'kol nafshecha, v'kol me'udecha.
Yes.
Okay. We say levavcha. That's you shall love the Lord with all your
Heart.
heart. Your heart. Levavcha. Yes? Why doesn't it say that here? I will take a bit of bread and sustain. It should say levavcha.
Right.
It doesn't. It says libchem. What's missing?
The Ha.
No. Look at the letter that's missing. There's a letter missing. Well, it would say, like to use singular, it would say libechecha. Instead of levavacha. It would be libechecha, singular. But plural is chem. That's why it says chem. It's
Right.
plural. But what's missing from the word heart? Libechem levavacha. What's missing?
The Aleph.
No. Libechem. From libechem as opposed to levavacha. Look at the Hebrew for both. What letter is missing? Wow. Libechem has how many bets in it?
2.
Libechem.
One
Look
B.
at it.
Oh, 1.
One.
It has one bet. Robert, you're silent. How many bets does Libechem have?
1.
Say something out loud.
I'm looking for the Hebrew on the Levavcha.
No, not on Labavcha, on Libechem.
Yeah.
Everybody look at
Yeah, and then
Libechem.
it's got one bit.
Robert,
One,
are you looking at Libechem?
show me.
It's in the box first.
In the box, in the box.
First
Last word in
last
the box.
word in the box.
All right,
Okay. See, there's that second letter, that's a bet.
right,
How many of those are in that letter?
Just
In that
one.
word, sorry.
just one.
Okay, now look down at Lavavacha. Show him where Lavavacha is on his notes.
All right,
Do you know where that is?
yep, there's
Do you know where
two.
Lavavacha is? Answer my question, please. Okay. Lavavacha. See those bets? How many bets are in Lavavacha?
2.
Everybody, how many bets are in Lavavacha?
Well, there's two.
Okay. How many bets are in Libechem?
One, so it's missing a bet.
Okay, Libechem is missing a bet.
Right,
Oh, and I'm like, whoa, what? So then I started looking at what the rabbi said. This is huge. It's amazing. It's an amazing teaching. All from, it's missing a bet. Libechem. He says, I will take a bit of bread and sustain your hearts. Who's he talking to?
Malachim.
Yeah.
Angels.
the angels.
Okay, he's talking to angels, and he says it with one bet. When it's talking to people, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. It's two bets. Now the rabbis make amazing statements about this. Just amazing. And I've got them here for you. So the first one is by Rashi, and he's sort of summing up what all the rabbis previously said. He said, and sustain your hearts. In the Torah, in the prophets, and in the writings, we find that bread is the sustenance of the heart. Can you quote the 3 verses from the Torah, the prophets, and the writings where it uses the same word, the same phrase, bread sustains the heart? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Mm-mm.
Well, one of the rabbis did. In the prophets, Judges 19:5, sustain your heart with a bit of bread. In the writings, Psalm 104:15, and bread sustains man's heart. And Rabbi Chama said, it's not written here, levavachem, but rather libechem. This teaches us that the evil inclination does not rule over the angels. What?
The dual
This
heart.
teaches, the fact that there's not 2 vavs tells us that the evil inclination doesn't rule over angels. Would you get that out of that? It's missing a vav, a bet. Therefore, the evil inclination has no rulership over angels. Would you get that from that?
No.
They do,
get-
because they know the
You
scriptures.
get
We
2
don't.
houses. You get the,
We don't know the scriptures. All right, so where does he get this from? He gets this from Genesis Rabbah 48:11. This is what it says. The word heart can be spelled with 1 bet, lev, or 2 bets, levav. When it's spelled with 2 bets, it means to include both man's good inclination and his evil inclination. Isn't that amazing?
wow.
So, you shall love the Lord.
I wouldn't have known that.
Listen to this. You shall love the Lord with all your heart. Levavacha.
Both.
You shall love the Lord with your evil inclination. Isn't that what it says?
Yeah,
Subdue our inclinations.
There's 2 houses in you. I'll explain it. There's 2 houses in you. There's an evil inclination and a good inclination. All right?
Yeah.
In Christianity, I'll say, I mean, it's just really the whole world. It's also in Buddhism and everything else. They say you have to become better so you can serve God. And you serve God with your better you, right?
Right.
Bull. In Judaism, you serve God with you, no matter what you are. You elevate your life. You eat kosher. That elevates the food. You have sex with your wife at the right time. That elevates your sex life. It elevates your relationship. Everything we do, every mitzvah we do, elevates us. And they could be the worst, stupidest people on the planet. But they're serving God. They might even be running to serve God. Maybe. We serve God with our evil inclination, not just our good inclination. How do we do that? We wrestle the hell out of it. You subdue it. You fight it. I'll put it this way to make it down to earth. When you see something on TV and that spark goes off and you just want to lust, you want to lust, you want those feelings, you want to feel it, and you just want to lust. You like, how can I lust? How can I do this? You know, what can I do? And if you subdue that inclination and you fight it, oh God, that makes God so happy. It's like, wow, that guy's running. I mean, look at that. Look at the work he did to subdue his inclination, to bend his will to my will. That's huge. It's huge, huge, huge. That's one of the greatest ways to serve God and to do the mitzvot, is to bend your inclination, your evil inclination, to get it under your control. Because our evil inclination it controls us constantly. You know this.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It totally controls us. But when we subdue it and we say, no, I'm in control. I am not going to eat that. I am not going to have sex with that or whatever. I am not going to, do this or that. I am not going to. That's what pleases God. That's doing the mitzvot. That's working with our inclination so that we serve God. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do. But that's what turns God on. So when it says, serve the Lord with all kol levavacha, you shall love the Lord your God, but kol, with all, in all levavacha. That means with your evil inclination and your good inclination. Angels can't do that. They don't have one.
They don't have an evil
Right?
inclination.
They don't even have one. They can't serve God with like we can with their whole heart. Only humans can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the rabbis got that out of one letter. And knowing by heart. Hey, there's a verse in the Torah, there's a verse in the prophets, there's a verse in the writings that all say the same thing. That bread sustains the heart. How does he know that? He remembers the verses so well. It says it here. That is in accordance to the opinion of Rabbi Chia. As Rabbi Chia said, direct your heart, levavachem, to its rampart. Now this is a whole different thing. It's not written here, but rather libachem. Psalm 48:14. That is why it is said the evil inclination will have no authority in the future. Now he adds another thing to it and says, he's saying we're going to be like angels in the kingdom, which I'll show you how he says that. But there was this just boggles my mind. There was a rabbi that said bread sustains the heart, and it's in the prophets, in the Torah. It's in the Torah, in the prophets, and it's in the writings. Can you imagine being able to pull a verse out like that without concordances and computers and all that jazz? The same phrase from three completely different parts of the Bible? I mean, people just don't do that. But he did it, and that's how he knew this doctrine. So now, Rabbi Chia adds another thing on top of it. But I want to make sure you got the foundational thing here. What's the difference between libachem and levavachem?
An extra bet.
Levavacha, sorry.
Extra bet.
Say it out loud.
An
Robert, you guys say it
Extra
out?
bet.
Okay. So, in libachem, when he says, I will take a bit of bread and sustain your hearts, we know he's talking to angels because it's singular bet. In all the other parts where it's talking about serving God with your whole heart, that you feel this in your heart, whatever, and it says levavacha, we know it's talking about people with two bets, evil inclination, good inclination, and we have to serve God with both. But now he adds another doctrine on top of it from Psalm 48, and this is awesome. Let's go to Psalm 48. This is one of my favorite chapters in the scriptures, Psalm 48. Why? Because it describes Jerusalem, Zion, as being heaven. It tells us that Jerusalem is heaven. That heaven is Jerusalem. That Jerusalem is Zion. That Zion is heaven. That heaven is Zion. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, his Har Kadosh, his holy mountain. Yafe Nof is what it says. Beautiful height. Yafe Nof. Yafe, pretty or beautiful. Nof means height, lifted up. Beautiful height. Joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion in the far north. Zion is not in the north of anything. So it's talking about up, right? The city of the great king. All right, then look at verse 4. The kings assembled themselves, they passed by, they saw it, then they were amazed. They were terrified, they fled in alarm. Panic seized them there, anguish as of a woman in childbirth. Why does it bring in the birth pangs here? It's talking about Jerusalem being heaven, and it brings in the birth pangs. What do you think?
That's where the kings are gonna die.
That's where the kings are going to die. Right? God, that's where
They're gonna bring them over there to slaughter them.
the battle is one of the great battles is going to take place at Jerusalem,
Yeah, they're gonna bring them.
and that's where the Messiah shows up to destroy in the final battle all the enemies of God at Jerusalem. Okay, let's go down to verse 9. We've thought on your loving kindness in the midst of your holy temple. As is your name, so is your praise to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Tzion be glad, the daughters of Judah rejoice. Why? Because of your judgments. Not because of your grace and your mercy, because of your judgments. Walk around Zion. Go around her. Count her towers. Why? Consider her ramparts. Now, this is the word that he's quoting here, that the rabbi is quoting. Here's the verse he's quoting, where it says, consider her ramparts. Go through her palaces. Why? So you can tell it to the next generation. Why? This is God. That's what it says in Hebrew. Ze Elohim. Ki ze Elohim, for this is God. Read it again. Walk around Zion. Go around her. Count her towers. How many are there? Count, consider, set your heart to her ramparts. Ramparts are the big walls, the big fortifications.
Aren't there 4 towers? 12?
Consider her fortifications. Go through her palaces, her houses, that you may tell it to the next generation. Why? Because Ki ze Elohim, for this is God. What's God?
The whole, the
All of it.
ramparts, the
What?
towers.
The towers, the
What is
ramparts,
that?
the
What
houses.
is all that?
Jerusalem,
Right. Jerusalem is God?
apparently.
Apparently. That's a good answer. Apparently. This is God. Our God, forever and ever. So, obviously, just in a real simple way, if you study, especially in Nehemiah and Ezra, especially Nehemiah, if you study the city itself, the walls, the towers, the fortifications, and they're all listed, if you study them and you get to see them, you are seeing the kingdom. You're there in the kingdom. You're there. Because that's why that stuff's in the Bible, is to show you what the kingdom's going to be like, right?
Yeah.
Or else it's just a stupid history book. Who needs that? It's there to show us the kingdom. So if you study that stuff, you're there and you will see God. You'll get to know God. You will. There's no way around it. And I know this from experience. So that's what this rabbi is saying. He's saying that word, libechem, it shows up again here. It shows up here. So I've got it for you here in Hebrew. But I've got it in English too. Psalm 48:12. walk around Zion, encircle her, count her towers, set heart on her ramparts. That's what we're looking for. Shitu libchem. Set heart on her ramparts. It's actually her ramparts set your heart. Shitu libchem. Set heart on her ramparts. Go through her palaces so that you may tell of her to the next generation. Because this is God. So what it says in Hebrew is Shitu libchem. In other words, set your heart on your ramparts, but it's libchem, not levavachem.
Right, one
Why?
heart,
Or levavacha. Why?
because we won't have the evil inclination then.
It's pure.
Then. That's the answer. We won't have the evil inclination then. When?
In the kingdom,
In the
obviously.
kingdom. This is the kingdom. And that's what he saw. He saw, wow, the Psalm 48 is about the kingdom.
We'll be like the angels.
Yes, we'll be like the angels. Exactly. Exactly right.
Yeshua said that.
Yeshua
Yes.
referenced that.
Yes.
But it was
yes.
about marriage, right?
Yeah, but-
it
Yes,
was-
but
he
in the kingdom, in the resurrection is what he says. In the
Right.
resurrection, you will be like angels.
Like angels.
Okay, well, that's what the resurrection is. It's to give us a new body in which we will now be like angels without, and this is just, I can't even imagine this,
Yeah.
without an evil inclination.
Yeah, that's hard to fathom.
I don't even know what that means. I've eaten the evil inclination so much, I don't even know what a meal without it is.
Exactly. I had to fight it every day.
Right? But think about that. From that one word, libechem, he saw we're going to be like angels in the kingdom. Isn't that awesome? I mean, I wish I
Cool.
could get that kind of revelation from one word, one letter. And people say, oh, they're rabbis. They don't
They don't know.
they rejected Jesus. I wish I could get that kind of revelation.
That was so stupid.
So I thought that was amazing. All right, so let's talk about the bait.
Go back to Rashi. He
Sure.
mentioned it's 3 times that it's mentioned in the writings and the prophets.
Well, he's
but
quoting.
He didn't give a third
Hold
reference,
on.
so.
Yeah, it does. It's this one, the one that we're reading,
Oh.
the Torah.
Okay.
It's not his words. He's not the one who said there's 3 mentions of it in the Bible. He's quoting, and I can't remember what rabbi it was. And I thought I'd written it, but I didn't write it. I'm sorry. It was another rabbi who saw that and said it. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was. But it's there in Genesis Rabbah 48. You can find it.
So that's the third reference is Genesis 48:11?
No, Genesis 18:5, the one that we're reading.
Oh, okay.
That's the Torah. And then in the prophets, it's the one in Judges.
Okay.
And in the writings, the one in Psalm 104. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, right, yeah.
It's just amazing to me. All right, so then he says the bait. We're going to look at the bait, the house. We have 2 houses. So just like we have an evil inclination and a good inclination in this one house, there obviously has to be 2 houses.
Yeah.
One without an evil inclination, right?
Yeah.
All right, so bait means house. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so, therefore, talk about the resurrection, always use the word bait. Always use the word house. Always. We're going to have a new house. We have a sukkah, then we're going to have a house. Oh, I can't wait for the resurrection when we get our house. Tired of living in this sukkah. I mean, this is why the Jews have always spoken. Every time you talk about the resurrection, it's about the house, the new
Was that what
house.
Yeshua was talking about when he says, I prepared for you, what they say, mansions in heaven?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no mansion.
Right.
It's a house. In fact, I'll show you what the word is in Hebrew. All right, so in 2 Corinthians, it says, chapter 5, verse 1 through 5. You know what, I'm going to go to it. 2 Corinthians 5. This used to be one of my favorite passages. But then I taught it and taught it and taught it, and I kept teaching it, and then I'd quiz people on it, and they'd go, what? And year after year, I'd say it, I'd teach it, I was all enthusiastic. Then I'd quiz people, and they go, I don't know, I don't remember. So it was like, I gave it my best shot, I guess. Okay, for we know that if the earthly tent, how do you say tent in Hebrew?
Okay.
Ochel.
Oh, hell.
Ochel. We know that if the earthly Ochel, which is our bait, the Ohel is our bait. All right. What is he? Why? How can an Ohel be a bait? What does that mean? How can the tent be our house?
Well, because it's a tent is like a house,
An enclosure.
but it's not a nice house.
It's not permanent.
Right.
It's not a nice house.
It's
Okay,
temporary,
let me
not
ask it a
permanent.
different way.
It's all
Let me ask it a different way. Where in the Bible does it say that the tent is a house? Let's try that. All right, let's try this.
When they did
Where?
when they put a tabernacle on the tent.
There you go. Very good. The house of God, the Beit El, the Beit Elohim, is called a Mishkan, tabernacle. It's also called an Ohel, the
Right.
tent.
The tent, yeah.
And they went to the tent of God's house in Shiloh, right? So God's house is a tent, but it's also a bait. Similarly, we are a tent and also a bait. So he says, if the earthly Ochel, which is our bait, is torn down, we have a building. Now, there's another word, a building from God. Now, that's the word moshav. Now, the word to build is bina, like knowledge is bina. Chachma, bina, etzah, gevurah, the seven spirits of God. Knowledge is da'at, I'm sorry, and understanding is bina. Understand is bina. And it's the same word. It means to build. Like tavniot comes from the same word. Tavniot, pictures, comes from the same word. Bina, to build. So this could be a bina, or it could be a moshav. A moshav. So building could be either one. This is not the word for mansion. This is not the same word as mansion. So he says, we have an ohel, it's a bait, and now it's a moshav. But the one that's the moshav, what is it? Which one is he talking about? What's the moshav?
House.
Which one?
The later one,
The one from God,
Yeah.
the resurrected
the
body.
one that comes later.
So the resurrected body is a moshav. We have a moshav from God, a house, a bait, not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. So he calls it a house, he calls it a bait, but he also calls it a moshav. For indeed in this we groan, longing to be clothed with our dwelling, that is the word moshav, straight up. Our moshav from heaven. Inasmuch as we, having put it on, shall not be found naked. For indeed, while we're in this ohel, now he calls it an ohel, this one, an ohel, we groan, being burdened, because we don't want to be unclothed, we want to be clothed, in order that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. All right? And then right after this is the verse that everybody in Christendom misquotes to say, absent from the body. Finish it. Absent from the body.
Present with the Lord.
You didn't finish it.
No, I
You
don't
don't
know it.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
You
No,
haven't
it's
heard that?
not beautiful.
Oh.
It's a lie.
It's false.
Oh.
People say absent from the body is present with the Lord. That means when we die, we...
Go to be with Jesus in heaven.
Right? It's a lie. It doesn't say that.
Right.
It says, I know that to be absent from the body means I'm going to be present with the Lord. In other words, I'm going to be resurrected. That's all he's saying. And they've taken that and here, look at it. It's in verse 6.
He just said, I wish it was that way.
Right. Therefore, being always of good courage and knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. That's all he says. And then comes the resurrection.
Well, in verse 8, he says, I prefer rather
Right.
to be absent.
To
He
be
doesn't say
absent.
it's going to be that way.
Right.
He said, I wish it was that way.
Yeah. Well, We know it's going to be that way in the resurrection, which is what he's talking about.
Yeah, but he's
But people take it out of the context of the resurrection and go, it's for everybody all the time.
like it's an instantaneous thing.
Right. And it's not.
No, the next
It's not
verse,
beautiful at all. It's a horrible, horrible myth.
The next verse gets them even more confused. For we walk by faith, not by sight.
Right. Okay, so
Right.
we have, what is this body called? What are the two Hebrew words that this body's called?
Ohel,
Ohel, tent, and
Mishkan.
Mishkan?
no,
No,
Bait.
house, bait.
bait, house. All right. And the resurrected body, what are the two words that body's called?
Bait and Moshav.
Okay, so they're both called bait,
And Moshav.
and then moshav, which means a dwelling. All right. I think that's pretty amazing. We have a house here. We're gonna have another house there. We're to serve God with our whole levavacha, our whole heart, our whole levav, which means both our evil inclination and our good inclination. I want to say this again. You are supposed to serve God with your evil inclination. That is what Judaism teaches us to do. We're taught in Hellenistic Christianity to serve God with your good inclination only. And the bad inclination, that's what we get rid of and we don't really worry about it. because
Ignore it.
Christ has put it under the blood. But in Judaism, we're given a way to fight it. We're given a way to use it, a way to handle it. And that's elevate everything. And that way you elevate your life, and you're actually worshiping God with your evil inclination. Who gave us an evil inclination?
God.
Right. Why would he give us an evil inclination to go, now ignore it? And just focus on the blood of Christ so you don't have to ever think about your evil inclination again. And when you do think about it, just change your mind and think about things that are good and honest and pure and right.
Just plead it under the blood.
Put it under the blood. That is craziness. God gave us an evil inclination.
That's how you learn.
That's how you
That's how
learn.
you understand.
Yeah.
It's-
And you must,
because it's a
you
test.
must get that evil inclination and put it under your control and your power. Because if you don't, the only other alternative is feeling sorry for yourself. Like, God, he's just so mad at me all the time. Everything goes bad. Everything goes bad. Nothing works around here. That's what I used to do. Nothing works. I was constantly talking like that. I can't get anything to work. Nothing works for me. Nothing. Everything's bad. It's horrible. Why? That's really the only other alternative there is. Or you can just grab that thing by the throat and say, I'm in control. Me. My Yetzer Tov. My good inclination. By the way, do you know what Yetzer means? Do you know what the word, where it comes from? Like, Yetzer means inclination, right? My good inclination. It comes from the word Yatsar, which means to squish into shape. Like to push clay into a mold.
To form.
That's Yatsar. That's like smushing clay into a mold to shape it.
Shape me, mend me.
Right. That's the Yetzer. Well, if you don't grab the Yetzer Hara, what's it going to do?
Whatever it wants.
Right? It's going to squeeze us into whatever image. But if you grab that Yetzer Hara, the bad one, and you squeeze it and you say, no, I am not going to do that. I don't have to do that. I am going to do this. I'm going to elevate my life by doing something Jewish. And you squeeze it and you make it, you reform it. You have now worshiped God with your evil inclination. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's possible. It's hard, but it's possible.
That's why Judaism's so difficult too, because it forces you to, because our evil inclination is always as lazy too.
Oh, yeah.
So
Doesn't want to work at anything.
I mean, even when you say the prayers every morning and every afternoon and every night, your brain starts to go somewhere else with that evil inclination instead of focusing on
That's why I started with
prayers.
run.
So
That's
we're-
why I started with run,
We're purging.
because it is so lazy. You have to jump into it. You got to run into it. And if you don't, it's just there's always going to be something to hold you back. Yep.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Purge, to purge.
What's to purge?
Purge the evil.
Well, it doesn't purge it. It reforms
Yeah,
it.
forms it.
It doesn't throw. It's not like I'm kicking you out, devil.
You never get rid
It's
of
not
it
like that.
until then.
It's like you reform it. And so basically what that means is a habit. Like you reform it, you change its shape. So now, like instead of me eating breakfast, now I pray. So I have changed the habit. My yetzer is now different. It looks different. Like if you just look at the habit of it, it's different.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's very practical, very, very practical.
So I kind of see that, I mean, in both there's a bait.
Yes,
Now we have an ohel, which is like a temporary physical body.
right.
Then we'll have a moshav, which is a different physical body,
A dwelling.
but dwelling. But the bait is the same, which is like our soul is going to be the same.
Yeah, and don't ask me what the resurrected body is because I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. But the
But that's where
soul
people
is the
usually-
same, which is
People usually go with that, like when they think
Right.
about the bed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, Shaul doesn't know. I don't know. He said his answer is "you fool." Did you know that?
yeah.
Like when in 1 Corinthians 15, they say, "You asked me about like what body will we have?" You fool. That's his answer.
Focused on the wrong thing. I take it as our soul because that's the only thing that's going to be the same.
Right. Our personality.
Our nefesh.
Yeah. Somehow our soul, and I don't know how this works.
Trying to transform some way, I'm sure.
I don't know how this works at all. But somehow our soul is reflected in our body. And I don't know how. I've never been able to figure that out. But that's a truth. And that's rabbis talk about that. It's too deep for me. But that is going to stay the same. That thing, how our soul is manifested in our body is going to stay the same. That's not going to be part of our resurrected body. But I don't know what that means.
But the soul also, so we pray at night that everything that our evil inclination that's stuck to that soul be removed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
At night,
Yeah.
when we're out of the way. We're just out of the way.
What about the spirit?
What about the spirit?
What does the spirit work? What kind of function does it play in there?
In the houses?
How's it roll?
It doesn't. It was dead, now it's alive.
Alive.
So it's like a fire in the house,
Right.
like the Mishkan. That's all.
I guess in that way, it gives us the fuel to subdue the evil inclination, maybe, that we didn't have before.
So when we
Yeah.
sleep,
Well, hold on. Yes. What is the job of the Holy Spirit? Like it's I can't remember where it is. The Holy Spirit, I think it's in John. The Holy Spirit will be sent to
Teach us.
teach, guide, and correct.
Right.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you're right.
So the Ruach HaKodesh gives us the fuel, the impetus, the motive,
Ability,
the
even.
ability, the understanding,
Right.
to be able to do that.
Because
Worship God.
before then, we
And
didn't give a
change-
crap about that.
And change our yetzer.
That wasn't even on the table.
Right. It wasn't on the tables, right?
So now it's our ammo.
Yeah. Don't put.
So can we say that the spirit is the good inclination and the soul?
No.
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 Because you have the
Hold on. Who gave people a good inclination? Who gave people a good inclination?
What do you mean?
Who gave it to humans?
God.
Who gave people a bad inclination?
God.
Do all people have the Holy Spirit?
No.
Okay, but all
Do
people
all
have
people-
but all people have a good inclination.
right. All people have both inclinations.
Right. So no, they're separate.
They're separate.
Inclination is us. It's all us. It's all humans.
Get kind of a package deal with the soul. It comes with
Yes,
it.
Right.
and it has nothing to do with God at all. Nothing.
No, my point is I'm trying to see like where does it dwell? Like, will we dwell in your spirit or in your soul?
I don't know.
You see what I mean? Like,
It's usually in my shoes.
I'm
I
just-
don't even know what that
Like,
means.
Now he's getting deep now.
Yeah, that's too deep for me.
Where does inclinations dwell? Like,
Where does the inclination dwell?
I think
Well,
they're
Rabbi said in
I
my
think-
shoe.
I think that dwells in
I
our
think
soul.
therefore I am.
it should be, right?
Yeah, it's our
That's what I'm
soul.
saying.
I actually
Definitely not our
think
spirit.
That's
that,
what I'm thinking. That's
that
I'm
here's
saying.
what the rabbi's saying. I don't know that I believe it. That it dwells in the
Neshama,
in the neshama,
not the nefesh.
in the brain.
Oh,
I don't know that I believe that,
really?
but that's what I've read rabbis say.
Well, I mean,
So I don't want to go into that because I don't know it. I don't.
Different rabbit trail.
Yeah, different rabbi trail. Yeah, I don't want to go there.
okay.
So let's focus on this. I think this is amazing
Okay.
stuff that we've seen so far. So we're going to get a moshav from heaven. Now, Romans chapter 7, to make it practical. Romans 7. I can't even find books in the Bible anymore.
Go
'Cause
left.
I never crack a book. I just use a computer. Isn't that horrible? And still,
I
like,
love that verse. Oh my goodness.
you mean this passage?
Yes, this is one of my favorites. I always throw that every time I see a Hellenistic Christian coming at me. Oh, you're spiritual? Here you go.
Enjoy.
this curveball right here. Maybe you can hit it. So.
All right, 7,
14.
14. We know that the Torah is spiritual. Excuse me?
Hello.
We do?
They did, apparently.
We know that the Torah is spiritual?
That's it.
I've never met hardly anybody who knows that the Torah is spiritual.
Well, his audience did. That was a given.
Yeah, isn't that a trip?
Oh, man.
And he's talking to Romans.
Christianity would
He's
disagree with that
Yes,
statement.
he's talking to Jews and Gentiles in a Messianic congregation in Rome, or Messianic congregations, plural, in Rome. And he says, we all know this, the Torah is spiritual.
This is Paul, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, just that.
That is just amazing.
I could write a book on it. We know the Torah is spiritual,
Didn't you? The Torah and the Spirit are one?
right? The Torah and Spirit are one. I did write a book, yeah. But I am of flesh, sold into bondage, into slavery to sin.
That's a lot of words.
The
Yes,
Yetzer
it
Hara.
That's a big thing there. We know the Torah is spiritual, but I'm flesh. Because the stuff I do, I don't understand. Really? You don't understand what you're doing? The stuff I do, so it obviously doesn't just mean the things that I'm doing I don't understand. It doesn't mean
No,
that.
no.
Because we do what we do what we want to do.
We understand.
We understand what we're doing. We always understand.
And we know why.
Right. So it's not saying that. I would read it like this. I don't understand why I'm doing the junk I'm doing.
Why I
That's
keep
how I
doing
do.
the same stupid stuff over and over again.
That's exactly what he's
I don't
Why haven't-
understand why I keep
haven't I got
doing the
smarter than
same
that now?
Stupid stuff. Because I'm not doing what I want to do, but I'm doing the very thing I hate doing.
Right.
But
Well,
I do the very thing I don't want to do. I agree with the Torah. And I'm showing that the Torah is good. Do you understand that? By me continuing to sin and doing the same stupid junk over and over and over again, I'm showing that the Torah is good and it's spiritual. Do you understand that?
So like you said, that, when people say, it's a spiritual battle, this and that, like you're fighting. It's like actually, what it means, like you're fighting yourself.
Yes.
I know my enemy, it's me.
Wrestling with me.
Like I'm wrestling with me, and people make it seem to be something outside.
So how does that make the Torah, how does that show that the Torah is good?
Because the Torah says what's wrong and what's right.
Right?
Exactly.
It's showing you.
That's all he's saying.
Without that,
He's
we
saying,
wouldn't know.
Listen, I keep sinning. I don't want to sin, but I keep sinning. And I'm showing that the Torah is right. Because the Torah says, don't do this. It's sin. Okay, I just agreed with the Torah. I just showed. That's sin. I just showed it. That's all he's saying. Nice and simple. So he says, I'm agreeing with the Torah, showing that it's good. So now, no longer am I the one doing it, but the sin, and I would read this as Yetzer Hara,
Yeah.
the evil inclination that lives inside of me. It's that other house. For I know that nothing good dwells in me. Nothing good. So if it says nothing good, what is it?
Evil
Yes.
inclination.
Bad. Ra.
Right.
It's the Yetzer Hara. I know nothing good is in that Yetzer, that is in my flesh. For the wishing, it's the will is there, the wanting is there, but then the doing of it isn't.
So he's not saying he doesn't have a Yetzer Tov.
No, he's saying the Yetzer Hara, there's nothing good in it.
Right. It's all bad.
It always makes me do the same stupid stuff. Always.
Right.
That's all he's saying.
Just like Hasatan is always a liar.
Right.
It's
But
never truth.
But I don't want you to fall back on this. There's flesh and there's spirit.
Oh, no.
And that's what people usually do when they read this. They
Right.
go,
'Cause
because
they're-
he said flesh. In my
Right.
flesh, there's
Right.
nothing good. Oh, you see? Flesh is bad. That's not what it is. It's the Yetzer Hara. It's the Yetzer Hara.
Yeah. Well, our flesh is the only way the Yetzer Hara can manifest itself.
Right.
Its will.
Right.
It has to use our
It
body
has
to do it.
Play it out somehow.
Exactly.
For the good that I wish, the good that I want, I don't do. But I practice the very ra, the very bad that I don't want. But if I'm doing the very thing that I don't want to do, it's not me doing it. It's the Yetzer Hara.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two of me. I'm schizophrenic.
Right.
Got a Yetzer Hara, got a Yetzer Hatov. Right here, he's only talking about the Yetzer Hara, and that's it.
Right.
And the problem, the mistake that people make is they read this and they go, oh, there's flesh and there's spirit, and I have to constantly reject the flesh and constantly just hang out with the
Be
spirit.
more spiritual.
Right, be more spiritual. Except they don't start with the law is spiritual.
No.
The Torah is spiritual. And if you throw that out, what are you left with? Spirit.
Yeah.
Just the spirit. I just need to hang out with the spirit. Instead of, you have a Yetzer Hara and a Yetzer Tov, and you have to get that Yetzer Hara and make it do what you want. Which is, he's not saying here because he hasn't said that. All he said is, we got a Yetzer Hara, and it makes me do this, and it makes me do that, and it's bad, and it agrees with the Torah saying the Torah says that that's sin. And that's all he's saying.
Apparently they needed that explained to them. Or he wouldn't have written it.
Okay. All right. And then look how he ends it. Verse 21. I then find the principle that evil is present in me. Evil, Ra, Yetzer Hara, the one who wants to do Yetzer Hatov. For I joyfully concur with the Torah inside of me. I joyfully concur with the Torah.
Right.
They chop off the beginning and they chop off the end of the statement. They take away that the Torah is spiritual, and then they take away, I joyfully concur with the Torah. And what are you left with? Oh,
Right.
spirit and flesh.
Misunderstanding.
So, I just wanted to read this just to make it very, very practical. That he's saying what all the rabbis said. It's just hard to understand his words here. He's saying, you got a Yetzer Tov, you got a Yetzer Hara. And you gotta make it your own. You gotta wrestle it to the ground.
So he's, yeah, in 23, he's kind of makes it sound like he's saying the Yetzer Tov lives in your mind, the Yetzer Hara lives in your body.
Yeah.
And I guess from his perspective, maybe that's what he's
Well,
saying.
that's bad translation, true,
Yeah,
too. It's
right.
very hard to read.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't go into it. It's just
Right.
hard to decipher. But I think we can decipher that chunk that we went through.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's
That
clear.
come to light now that you can see the evil inclination
Yeah.
in the passage. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Back to Genesis 18. Then we're gonna wrap it up. One last little nugget. The Akedah, which is in this week's Torah portion. Wait, let me say it this way. There used to be a guy in our congregation in Derech Olam who was in it, man. He was in it. He was tight. He followed everything. He got everything. Then the congregation broke up. He disappeared for a long time. We disappeared for a long time. Then we met back up at Temple Mount Sinai. And we were going to Temple Mount Sinai, Reformed Jewish congregation. And they don't believe in Yeshua. And they have, every belief under the sun except Yeshua. Then I meet back up with this guy, and he tells me, I can't believe in Yeshua anymore. It's nonsense. Why? Why's that? Because there's no such, that's human sacrifice. For God to give his son,
Yeah, I heard that before.
that's human sacrifice. And we don't believe in sacrificing people.
Right.
And that's just, it's horrible. It's just disgusting. And we talked some more. And then I didn't really say anything because he already has his mind set.
It's Tovia Singer says that.
Totally wrong. Totally wrong. There's only one passage that's read every single day from the Torah, except for the Shema. What is it? Every single day we read it.
Other than the Shema, I don't know.
The Akedah.
Oh,
The Akedah.
Every day? Yeah, every day. Genesis 22. We read it every single morning. The Akedah. So, there are many passages throughout Judaism that say this. Isaac's sacrifice, Isaac's olah, him becoming he was going to be an olah. Isaac's sacrifice makes atonement for the whole of the Jewish people. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
That's what there's many passages in Judaism that say this. Isaac's sacrifice makes atonement for the whole of the Jewish people's sins.
So one, it's human. Two, it's substitutional.
And it's Abraham's beloved only son, even though he had another son.
And three, he would have to have gone through with it and made it happen.
He did.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
So, because there's different opinions about that, too.
Right.
How did it happen?
How did what happen?
The sacrifice.
He sacrificed his son and he resurrected. Came back to life.
He didn't stop before doing it, like Moses
He
taught.
did stop, but
Oh.
then he did it.
Oh, right. Oh,
Yeah, most people don't. So the rabbis, because of that, they have both opinions on the table at the same time.
Right.
He did not kill his son. He did kill his son. But both of them, both opinions say the bottom line is the same thing. Abraham believed in the resurrection and he saw it with his son. Which is why Paul said that in Galatians, that Abraham sacrificed his son. Why? Because he knew he would be resurrected. How do we know he knew he would be resurrected?
And so did Isaac.
How do we know? How do we know that he knew he would be resurrected? You guys
because
should
he
know
said,
this.
we'll come back later.
Thank you. Because he says, I and the lad, I and the boy will come back to you later. Well, if he's going to kill his son, why would he say he's going to come back later with me? Right?
Right. If his intention was to go do that.
Right. Go to Genesis 22, and you can see it.
So did the rabbis that believe that he didn't go through with it believe that it's still substitutionary for
Yes.
the entire of Israel?
Yes.
Because he intended to,
Yes.
even though he didn't? Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And that's mind-boggling that they say that rabbis, some rabbis, not all, but some rabbis say Isaac's death was a substitutionary sacrifice for the sin of the Jewish people, which is why we read it every single morning. Isn't that mind-boggling?
And I guess on Isaac's part, the ones who feel like maybe he didn't go through with it are looking at the idea that because Isaac was willing to go through with it.
That's the intent.
Yeah.
The Yetzer is enough.
And Avram was willing to do it. So
Yes.
both of them had the intent.
Yes. Okay, look at verse 4. Okay, remember, what's the name of the Torah portion?
Oh, I forget.
It's
not in this
What's the
Bible.
name of the Torah portion? It's on your sheet.
Oh, this one,
Va'yera,
Va'yera.
right?
Va'yera.
I thought you meant this
He
one.
appeared.
What one?
Oh, and it's the same, okay.
We are in the
It is-
Torah
okay,
portion.
yeah, it
Genesis
is
22
this
is in our
one.
Torah portion.
I bet.
So in Va'yera, and what does that mean?
And he appeared.
And appeared.
Appeared.
Right? Appeared, saw, sight.
So
Okay, this is all about seeing, this Torah portion.
the resurrection appeared.
Yes, exactly. And he says, it came about after these things, God tested Abraham, said to him, Abraham, he said, Hineni, here I am. Take now your son, your only son, which is a lie, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as an olah. Kill him. He doesn't say anything else. He just says, I want you to make him into an olah. On one of the mountains that I will tell you. He rises early in the morning, saddles his donkey, took 2 of his young men. Do you know who the young men are?
No.
Ishmael and his servant Eliezer.
Eliezer.
So his other son.
Yeah, Ishmael
Yeah.
was there. Absolutely.
Ishmael and Eliezer. And he took 2 of his young men with him, and Yitzchak his son, and he split wood for the olah, and arose and went to the place that God had told him. On the 3rd day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place from a distance. That means he's seeing into the future. Abraham said to the young men, stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go over there, and we will worship and return to you. So he is saying, all he knows is he's going to kill his son, because that's what God told him to do, and yet he tells these guys he's going to come back with Isaac.
Isaac saw this at this point. Isaac saw too.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so,
Didn't
which
say
is why
that,
he
but
did
maybe.
it. Doesn't say it. I don't know what the rabbis say. I've never seen that, but I believe so.
So when he mentions then where's the lamb for the offering, he's seeing Yeshua. He's
Yeah.
not seeing the actual lamb that
Exactly.
that Abraham needs.
And I'll show you that.
Okay.
I'll show you that.
And where he says, he lifted his eyes and saw the place. If what he was seeing was the kingdom, then he goes on to say, okay, we're going to go over to the kingdom and we're going to go worship.
And come back. Right.
Right.
We're going to go to the kingdom and worship, and we'll be back.
Right.
The 2 of us.
Sit tight.
So I just, by the way, I got to say this in the Torah study at Temple Mount Sinai.
Did you?
When we did the Akedah, we were studying the Akedah, and I said, why does it say that? Look at the words in Hebrew. We will return. You shall go kill your son. What is he saying? How can he say that unless he believes in the resurrection? And they were all like, ooh, wow. And I'm like, man, this is so clear in the Hebrew. And I kept hammering on it.
Was the rabbi there that day?
Yeah, absolutely. He
Cool.
loved it. Okay, verse 5. Worship, we'll return to you. Verse 6. He took the wood of the olah, laid it on Yitzchak, took in his hand the fire and the knife, and the 2 of them walked on together. Yitzchak spoke to Abraham, his father, and his father, he said, Avi. And he said, Hineni, B'nai. And he said, behold, there it is again. Behold, look, the fire and the wood, but where's the say for the olah, the lamb for the olah? And Abraham said, God will, you know what it says in Hebrew?
Provide himself.
Yireh. Yes, he'll see, no, not provide.
Oh.
See himself,
See himself.
as the lamb.
Yireh.
God himself will see him. God will see himself, the lamb. That's what it says in Hebrew. So yeah, I believe Yitzchak saw it. I believe Yitzchak knew. For the olah, my son. So the 2 of them walked on together. All right, so that's why he named the place Yehovah Yireh. Verse 14. Abraham named the name of the place Yehovah Yireh. The Lord will see, as it is said to this day. In the mountain of the Lord it will be seen. What will be seen?
The Messiah.
The Messiah, the crucified, the day of the Lord, the kingdom, everything. Heaven, God, everything. Everything is seen on Mount Moriah at Jerusalem, at Zion.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. Now back to the Torah portion. Just this little thing about when did these guys show up? When did these three angels show up to Abraham?
Pesach?
No, I mean, what did the text say?
At that point in time.
Oh,
At this point?
at this time,
Next year.
next year.
And what else? What else?
The
did he
appointed
say?
time.
At the Moed.
Moed.
At the Moed, at the appointed time. So here it is on your notes on the back page, on the back of the sheet. And he said, I will surely return to you at this time next year. And behold, your wife Sarah will have a son. And Sarah heard from the entrance of the tent, it was behind him.
Do we know which one of them was saying that?
Yes, Gabriel. Remember who delivered the message to Miriam that Yeshua was going to be?
Oh, right, yeah, Gabriel.
My boy,
Gabriel.
Gad.
My boy, yeah. At the Moed, I will return to you at this time next year, for Sarah will have a son. Now you asked, how do we know it's Pesach? Right?
Right.
Anybody know how?
Because they did unleavened bread.
Say it again.
She cooked unleavened bread.
Where does it say that?
Later on, when you see, let me go back to 18. When it says that she took the measurement.
In
or
verse
whatever.
6.
Uh-huh.
Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, quickly prepare 3 seah,
Quickly make bread cakes.
yeah, of fine flour, knead it and make ugot of lechem, bread cakes. Where does it say unleavened?
Maybe it's because she was doing it quickly, and you make unleavened bread quickly.
Yeah, but it's got to say it in Hebrew.
Yeah, okay. I'm guessing.
That's not a bad guess, but there's got to be some
That's not it.
verification. So where does it say that they had matzah?
Yeah, how do we know it's Pesach?
Nobody knows? Okay, so let's talk about it. There's 3 angels.
Mm-hmm.
What's their names? Raphael, Gabriel, and
Michael.
Michael. Raphael's there to heal him from the circumcision. Gabriel is there to deliver the message and give him strength. And basically make him alive because he's dead. Which is what I'm going to show you in a bit. Make him alive because he's dead. And make his wife alive because she's dead. And then,
Turns up
and then,
children.
who's the other? Michael is there to destroy, to fight. Who does he fight? Who does he destroy? Michael.
At that point, there's no freaking fight there.
Yes, there is.
The
There is,
opposition.
Because they walk out to the edge. Remember, they're in Hebron,
Right.
way down south. They're in Hebron, and it says they walk out to the edge of the hill, and he goes, I'm here to destroy Sodom. Oh, no, don't. He fights, he gets him down to 10 people,
Yeah.
because there's 10 righteous in the city, the family of Lot. Those are his family, there's 10 of them. Gets him down to 10, he says, okay, well, I'm destroyed for the 10. Oh, okay. Got him down to 10, Lot's gonna be okay, except got to get Lot out of there before he destroys. So Michael is there to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to chapter 19, verse 2. No, verse 1. Now, the 2 angels, so one of them's left. One of them has left. Which one left, do you think?
Probably Gabriel. No, I mean Raphael.
Raphael, because he was there to heal them.
Yeah,
Right.
so don't need him
So
anymore.
we got Gabriel and Michael, and they're both there. They come to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. So I think he knows they're angels, I think.
Yeah.
And he said, now, behold, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house and spend the night, wash your feet, then you may rise early and go on your derech. They said, however, no, we will spend the night in the square. I think they're running a scam on him. Yet he urged them strongly, so, okay. So they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he prepared a feast for them and baked matzah.
Unleavened bread.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, you know, I saw it somewhere.
You were so close.
I was close. It was the next chapter.
So, it's Pesach. And that's when the angels show up. That's when they do the miracle. But they don't have sex until when?
Who has sex?
Abraham and Sarah.
Oh,
So she gets pregnant. When are they going to have sex, though?
sex up.
When are sex though? When are they coming back? When are the angels going to come back?
A year later, same time.
So that'd have been 3 months later.
Very good. 3 months later. What's 3 months after Passover? Guys, what's 3 months after Passover? The third month.
Rosh Hashanah.
No, that's 7 months. Guys, the third month. Okay, let's go through the festivals.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Let's go through the festivals. First day of Hagamatzah. Last day, seventh day of Hagamatzah. What's next?
I can't remember which ones come
Oh
after
my
that.
God. Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits.
Oh, first row. Okay.
That's not one of them. What's next? After first fruits,
Then you count the Omer.
right? You count the Omer and you come to, after you've filled up all the Omer, then you come to what day? How many days do you count the Omer?
50.
Okay, and
Oh.
you come to
Yeah. Get the name. Yeah.
Penny cows, Shavuot.
Right, Shavuot.
There you go.
All right? That's when they get pregnant. They get pregnant 3 months later. And then they show up a year later at Pesach and they had a baby. Baby's born. So he got conceived at Shavuot.
When the Torah and the Spirit were given.
Right. When the Torah and the Spirit are given. So they showed up, they showed up to make Abraham and Sarah alive because they were dead.
Because that's why they couldn't have babies.
Right, because they were dead.
Their
The
wombs were
Bible
dead.
says they were dead,
Right.
right? What do you mean? You don't know?
Well,
It's in
her
the New
womb was dead.
It's in the New Testament.
It says her womb was dead.
It says he was dead, is what it says.
Oh, yeah.
Look in Romans chapter 5.
Yeah.
I've got it on the notes. Chapter 5. For this reason, it is by faith, God who gives life to the dead and calls into being the things that don't exist. In hope against hope, he believed, so that he might become a father of many nations, according to that which had been spoken, so shall your seed be. Without becoming weak in faith, he contemplated his own body, which was good as dead. What does that mean in English? It's dead. He's dead, since he was about 100 years old. And the deadness of Sarah's womb.
Right.
Yet, with respect to the promise of God, he didn't waver in unbelief, but grew strong in faith. That's crazy.
So everybody thinks that it means that she was barren. That's what everybody believes.
Barren. Yeah.
Well,
She
that's-
was barren.
She was barren, but
But she was dead.
she was dead. Her body, her insides were dead.
How did they die, Abraham and Sarah?
No, they're not. They're not physically.
They're not physically dead.
Oh, okay.
but they're
Yeah.
dead.
That's why I was.
And so, God shows up and makes them alive, and
Right.
a baby comes,
Okay.
and it's Isaac,
Yeah.
the Messiah.
You said that the three angels were Gabriel, Michael, and who?
Raphael.
Raphael.
How would you forget that one? What's your name?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was
Raphael.
Long.
I know I was there somewhere.
It's all about you, man. All right. And then it says in Hebrews 11 the same thing. Therefore, even from one man, and one who was good as dead, there were born seed who were just as the stars of heaven in number, and as the innumerable grains of sand along the seashore. Not only was he not dead, him and his wife looked like they were kids.
And his eyesight was just like he was a young man.
Yeah, when God touched him,
Or was that Moshe?
that was Moshe.
Oh.
But it happened with Abraham too.
Oh.
When the angels showed up to make them alive, like to give them life, when he circumcised himself, the rabbis say, you can believe this or not believe it, that he got very, very youthful, and so did she. That both of them looked like kids.
Testosterone.
testosterone of the Lord. But here it says, he didn't, but without becoming weak in faith, he contemplated his own body. He was dead. He looked at his body that's dead. And he looked at the deadness of Sarah's womb. But he did not waver in unbelief, but grew strong. In other words, he strengthened his faith. He got strong. What do you think he did to get strong? Yes. Yes. Judaism. What are the 4 words it says in Genesis 26:5 that Abraham did Judaism? What did he do?
Torah,
Torah,
Chokim,
Chokim. You're working backwards. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Mitzvot.
Mitzvot and
Mishpatim.
Mishpatim.
no,
No, that's
Mishmar,
mitzvot.
Mishmarti,
I forget that one.
Mishmar,
I knew it was a
watches,
Mish in there.
right? So, that's what I got. That's it. I'm just blown away about that the rabbis were able to see from one letter missing, a word being written differently, one letter change, the whole story. It's just amazing to me. That's the kind of revelation that I want to get.
So Nicodemus was doing Judaism,
He was
but
on the same
Nicodemus
page.
was dead.
Yeah. He wasn't,
And Yeshua said, you need to wake up.
yeah. His spirit was not alive. His
Right.
spirit was dead.
So he was just going through the motions of Judaism,
Yeah.
but he was dead in the spirit.
Yep.
Because he didn't believe Yeshua was the Messiah.
I don't
Right.
know.
No?
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh.
I mean,
Well, isn't that the result of getting born again?
after Yeshua's resurrection, yeah.
Oh. But back then, maybe it was something else,
Back then it was by emunah, by faith,
by understanding.
by understanding.
But and isn't that what they had to understand?
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Okay. So the answer is yes.
Yeah. He didn't understand Yeshua was the Messiah.
Right. Okay.
That's why he
So,
was dead.
anything else? Any other questions or rabbi trails or anything? Got it?
All over one letter.
I mean,
Okay, then I'm going to quiz you.
Oh,
And you out there on the video, make sure you
Subscribe,
subscribe,
and share.
and share this video with everyone you can think of. And make comments below.
all robotic.
I don't even know if I'm saying the right thing. All right, I'm going to quiz you now.
Let's do this.
Are you ready?
Yes.
How do you say heart in the Shema? You shall love the Lord with all your
Levavaha.
heart. Come on, you got to say words.
Levavaha.
Oh, Robert. Levavacha. All right, and how do you say?
Lubavitcher Rebbe.
How do you say your hearts plural? We'll get some bread. Quit cheating.
You didn't say it was an open book.
It's not an open book test. How do you say your hearts? I will sustain your hearts.
Lifken.
Close. Very close.
Sustain your heart like as in people.
Libchem.
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 Sounds German.
Libchem.
Lifken.
How do you say hearts? Like we shall love the Lord with all your hearts?
Levavaha.
What?
Levavaha.
Say it. Okay.
Lebibi.
you
Why-
say it. Let me see. You say it.
Lababacha.
Levava.
See, you want me to say it, but you gotta look.
Levabacha.
Lavabacha. Okay.
Lavabacha.
Why are there two bets in Lavabacha?
Because your inner
Both
inner
inclinations.
inclination and the good inclination, the bad.
Yes.
Yetzer dos.
What are the two verses that use the word libechem, showing that there's no evil inclination? What are the two, anything, concept of the verse or where it is or anything?
Genesis 18.
Nope. Oh, okay. Which one is that?
That has one bet.
Yes, but what does it say?
What is it quote?
Yes, what does it say? What's the words?
Oh.
What's the concept?
The concept is that they're talking to heavenly beings that don't have.
It's Abraham saying about the bread, yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
what's the other one?
Oh, that, yeah, it's gonna make your heart.
Yes, we won't
Satisfied.
have an evil inclination.
Mhm.
That's a clue. What's the other passage that talks about it? Oh my goodness.
Get your notes out.
Yeah.
Psalm 48, about
Yeah.
Jerusalem lifted up.
Yeah.
Oh,
At the end, go around the city,
oh, yeah.
count
Look at
her
the ramparts
towers,
and the
look at-
towers,
consider her
all the
ramparts.
houses.
When it
'cause
says
that's
consider
God.
her ramparts, libechem, your heart. Set your heart to the ramparts. Why? Because
Oh.
you're in the kingdom, you got no sin.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be
I
a
can't
whole
even
new me,
imagine.
man. It's gonna be a whole new me.
Oh, Psalm 48, what?
Verse 12.
Thank you. Yeah, 12.
And it
Is
says,
there any
leave
time?
him?
Is there any
Leave
time
him.
in these bodies right now that we can experience a little bit of that?
Yes,
Awahaska.
yes.
What we do.
Well, you say we,
That's the
When I-
depends on
consider.
who the we is.
When-
So I'll tell you.
When I do a mitzvah.
Hold on. The Baal Shem Tov and Rabbi Isaac Luria and Rabbi Zushia and my favorite, Rabbi Yosef Yozel, and the other one's from Sfat. I can't remember his name. Anyway, these guys were tzaddikim. And they could do things that defy gravity and defy natural law and defy all the, just natural law, all the molecules. They could pass through walls, they could be like, I want to be in another city right now, and they'd be in another city right now. Also, that happened with one of the Talmidim. Which one was it?
Was it Kefa?
No,
No, not him.
it's his brother. What's
Thomas?
his brother's name? No. What was Shimon's brother's name?
Simoncito?
Simoncito? Philip, his brother.
There you go.
Oh, Philip.
Philip was an evangelist.
He got transported.
Right, he was in Uzzah.
I knew that happened with somebody. I couldn't
He
remember.
was
who.
in Uzzah. He was hanging out with the Palestinians in Uzzah. And all this
May all the righteous be transported like him.
and he was all of a sudden in Azotus, which is Ashdod, which just got bombed by Gaza.
And
It's very close.
that's in Jerusalem? Or
No,
in Israel?
no, it's right near Gaza. It's about 7 miles north
so
on
it's-
the coast.
Close.
It's also a Palestinian town.
Oh.
And he was just there because God needed him there. He was a tzaddik. But that happens with many tzaddikim. So when you say, can we see that? Can we see what it's like to have a resurrected body? It depends on who the we is. I mean, these are guys who's 24/7, it was Judaism for them. 24/7. So no, we can't.
I guess Alan will be one.
There you go. Have
Not us at this table.
Right, depends on who the we is. Like if you say those of us in Israel who want to know God and are doing Judaism and know the Messiah, yeah, some of us can. Not us.
But didn't you say that?
It has to be Judaism all the time.
But didn't you say prophets at one point in their lives, they have seen the kingdom?
One point, many
many
points.
points.
Yeah. Eileen's been taken to the kingdom dozens and dozens of times. Other prophets I know, they're taken to the kingdom all the time. They just don't know they're there. They have no realization of what
They
they're
don't
saying.
recognize that that's what
They
it
don't know what's
is.
going on. They just, I had a bad dream. Well, how's that being like, oh, I was in the kingdom and I felt it and I felt my body, you know, that's just ignorance. No, this is something different. This is like knowing what's
When we-
going on.
I heard that when you sleep, we die. Is that true?
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
Well, sleep is, in the Bible, sleep is death. Like if you're describing somebody who's dead, what do you say?
They're asleep.
They're asleep. Yeah.
So then when we sleeping or dreaming, we're not really, our soul escapes the body and goes to wherever else it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in the Jewish prayers in the morning, you thank God for returning your soul to your body.
Right. Thanks for bringing it back.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video.